May 11, 1943. Attu Island, Aleutian Chain, Alaska. American soil. Freezing fog so thick you can't see 10 feet in front of you. Winds howl at 60 miles per hour, driving sleet and snow sideways. The ground is a frozen swamp that sucks boots off your feet and pulls men down to their knees. U.S. soldiers from the 7th Infantry Division wade ashore from landing craft, rifles held high, expecting a quick fight against a small Japanese garrison. Instead, they step into the most miserable, most forgotten battle of World War II, the only land battle ever fought on United States territory during the entire war. And almost nobody today even knows it happened. It all began almost a year earlier, June 6th and 7th, 1942. While the world was fixated on the Battle of Midway, a small Japanese task force quietly slipped into the Aleutian Islands and landed on two remote American islands, Kiska and Attu. This was the first enemy occupation of American soil since the War of 1812. Attu is tiny, only 20 miles long, a barren wasteland of jagged mountains, tundra, and constant fog. There were no trees, no roads, and no civilians. Japan's goal was simple but terrifying. Build airfields here to threaten Alaska and the U.S. West Coast, and pull American ships and planes north away from the main fight in the Central Pacific. They left behind roughly 2,600 tough, fanatical troops under Colonel Yasuo Yamazaki. These men dug in deep, prepared to fight to the death. The U.S. response was painfully slow. Alaska was considered a backwater theater. Every available ship, plane, and soldier was being rushed to Guadalcanal, North Africa, and Europe. For nearly a full year, Attu and Kiska sat under Japanese control, a humiliating stain on American soil that Washington tried desperately to ignore. By the spring of 1943, the decision was finally made. Retake Attu at all costs. But no one in command had any idea just how brutal, how miserable, and how deadly this small operation was about to become. Operation Landcrab. May 11th, 1943. 11,000 American troops, the 7th Infantry Division plus attached units, hit the beaches in thick fog. At first, there was almost no opposition. The Japanese were dug in high on the ridges, waiting patiently like predators. The American plan looked simple on paper. Two pincers. Northern force lands at Beach Scarlet, Southern force at Beach Red. Then they converge on the Japanese stronghold at Shishigoff Harbor. But Attu was hell on earth from the very first step. Temperatures hovered around freezing. Rain, sleet, and snow never stopped. The ground turned into a sucking quagmire. Men sank to their knees and sometimes to their waists in icy mud. Boots literally rotted off soldiers' feet in days. Trench foot and frostbite struck within 48 hours. There were no roads. No vehicles could move more than a few yards. Every single round of ammunition, every ration, every bandage had to be carried on men's backs or by pack mules that quickly died in the mud. The Japanese held every piece of high ground, fortified ridges with machine guns, mortar, and 75mm guns perfectly positioned. They let the Americans walk straight into the trap. The first real fighting exploded on May 14th, and it was nothing like anything the U.S. Army had experienced in the Pacific. For the next several days, the Americans pushed inland toward Fishhook Ridge and Clevassy Pass in some of the worst conditions imaginable. Japanese troops launched night counterattacks through fog, so dense neither side could see the man next to him. Soldiers fought hand-to-hand in freezing trenches with bayonets, knives, and rifle butts. The Japanese refused to surrender. They fought to the death or committed suicide rather than be captured. American casualties mounted at an alarming rate. Air support was almost non-existent. The fog grounded planes for days at a time. Naval gunfire was useless because spotters couldn't see the targets. Medics couldn't evacuate the wounded. Stretchers sank into the mud, and men froze to death while waiting for help. By May 18th, the Americans controlled the low ground, but were completely stalled at the high ridges. Colonel Yamazaki still had roughly 1,000 effectives left, but they were dug in like ticks and ready to die for the emperor. The final all-out push was coming, and everyone knew it was going to be savage. May 29, 1943. General Simon Buckner ordered a full-scale assault on the Japanese positions at Fishhook Ridge and Clevisy Pass. American artillery finally found the range and pounded the ridges for hours. Infantry crawled forward through the mud under constant machine gun fire. Then Colonel Yamazaki made his last desperate move. At dawn, he gathered every remaining man, about 1,000 soldiers, for one massive banzai charge. They screamed, "Tenno Haika Banzai," and rushed straight downhill into the American lines. What followed was pure chaos. Hand-to-hand fighting exploded across the ridges. Grenades, bayonets, point-blank rifle fire. Some Japanese soldiers strapped satchel charges to their chests and blew themselves up among the Americans. Others leaped off cliffs rather than be taken alive. By nightfall, the charge was finally broken. Colonel Yamazaki was dead, killed while leading from the very front. The Battle of Attu was over. Attu Island was declared secure on May 30th, 1943. The final butcher's bill was shocking. American casualties totaled around 3,929 men to 549 killed in action, 1,148 wounded, and more than 2,200 lost to non-battle injuries, mostly frostbite and trench foot, so severe that feet had to be amputated. Japanese losses were nearly total, roughly 2,351 killed, with only 28 soldiers captured alive. It was the highest casualty rate of any U.S. Pacific battle when measured against the size of the enemy force. The island itself had almost no strategic value. No usable airfields were ever built. The only real gain was removing a symbolic Japanese occupation of American soil. A few months later, Kiska was retaken, but the Japanese had already secretly evacuated the entire garrison under cover of fog. The entire Aleutians campaign ended with a whimper. Attu quickly became a forgotten footnote, completely overshadowed by Tarawa, Saipan, Normandy, and the Battle of the Bulge. Yet one fact remains undeniable. Attu was the only land battle ever fought on American soil during the entire Second World War. The Battle of Attu proved how brutal even a so-called small campaign could be. Men fought in conditions that would break almost any army. Constant freezing rain, knee-deep mud. No shelter, no escape. The 7th Infantry Division earned the bitter nickname, the Forgotten Division, for years afterward. Today a small, lonely monument stands on Attu, a simple plaque that remembers the dead. The island is still littered with rusting helmets, shell casings, foxhole remains, and human bones that surface every time the tundra thaws. That is the true story of the Battle of Attu, the forgotten fight on American soil that cost thousands of lives for a windswept, muddy rock that almost nobody remembers. Not every battle makes headlines. Some battles just leave scars on the land and in history's shadows.